to tell a little bird, press the little blue button on the left-hand side to tell people to come and join in so they can hear this wisdom from Neen about paying attention.
No, I don't know how much wisdom, but let's give it a shot. So for those of you who have just joined us, welcome. And we are on air, on record. So for those of you who want to tweet along, please do tell a little bird. Please do follow each other and connect so you can have some conversations. I'd like to just start a conversation today about attention and how important it is. And Gina, as my fabulous and beautiful co-host, is joining us today. If you aren't following this amazing lady, she is really incredible. She has been involved in social media for as long as I've known her. And when Blab first came out, I remember we connected and thought, oh my gosh, this is such a game changer. Yeah. And so, Gina, maybe what we can do is I'd love you to introduce yourself to everyone if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Gina Schreck, and our team here at Social Connects we're made up of, now 17 people. And so this topic is so fascinating to me, Neen, because you are the expert on paying attention, and you're so good at this of really focusing and giving someone your attention. And I feel like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum of being the squirrel with the attention span of a gnat. And we're always running, and we focus so much on how do we get attention? How do we get attention for companies? And I'm loving your topic of paying attention. But, one of the things that I think is a question that immediately comes to mind is, what is the cost of not paying attention today in business?
Well, if you think about the cost of not paying attention, it was there's a research group called the Information Overload Research Group, and they did a study and they found that as a nation, it is currently costing us $588 billion because of interruptions. So when you take that number and you think about that, what we also looked into when I was researching my book, Attention, which is coming out next year, we looked at the fatalities of the airline industry and how many have been involved because people haven't paid attention. We looked at distracted driving. Did you know that 9 lives are lost every 24 hours because of distracted driving? 1,123 injuries every 24 hours. I mean, this is insanity, right? But then you look at things like employee turnover. There was a study that I read which said that it cost $11 billion a year just in employee turnover. So when you think about the human cost and the productivity cost of this, there are so many costs of not paying attention. And that's not even just getting into our health, our relationships, our engagement. So I think the cost of paying attention is massive, or the cost of not paying attention is massive. And as leaders, we need to choose what we're going to invest our time in.
Well, and I mean, it's not like it's a new topic, but why do you think this is so hot right now? Do you think it's because of like tools like social media that's pulling our attention, or is it? I'm sure it's broader than that. But I mean, what do you think is the cause of this problem that we're having? It seems like this is coming up more and more, that we're not paying attention anymore.
I think
to anything.
Yeah, I think what it is, I think it's a couple of things. I think it's where people are overwhelmed, they're overstressed, and they're overtired. Right? And so when you think about those combinations, most leaders today are running from one meeting to the next. They are constantly managing their email. Then they're having to manage their one-on-ones with their team. And then they've got social media. And then they've got people in their family who are trying to get their attention. So I think what's happening is we're all running in this insanely busy environment. People will claim to be crazy busy. Right? So everyone is doing this. I think social media has accelerated it because what's happened is we've become almost obsessed with other people, and there are people who are getting attention, not always the great kind of attention, but there are people who are getting attention for things that maybe we would have ignored before. And we've got media and social media, and they're constantly pulling at us. And for example, like when I talk to some of the leaders that I work with, my clients, it's much more interesting to be on Facebook than it is to write a client proposal, right? And so if you are a procrastinator and you're putting it off, it's hard to know where to put your attention. Maybe you know what you should do, but it's maybe not what you're doing.
Right. And I look at that and say in business, can you hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. In business, I look at it and say we're pulled so many more directions, and maybe it has to do with there's fewer people doing more work. Mm-hmm. So we tend to be multitasking, which I know your thoughts on that. Multitasking more, and so we're not paying attention And the reality is, I think, there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many minutes in an hour. So it does boil down to, we're just not, and again, this is the excuse side, my justifying that we're just not able to pay attention to as many things. But and again, I've been with you when you are talking one-on-one with me, or when you're talking to other people, and you do this so naturally, where you really give someone that attention. But it's not just that you're looking at them and locking in for the moment. You do some little things, Neen, that are very different than other people. What are some tips for those of us who want to make the excuse that we're too busy to pay attention? What are some things that we could be doing different every day?
So in our book Folding Time, we talk about everyone has to achieve twice as much in half the amount of time. And anyone who's watching along today, or if you're watching the replay, you understand that we still have commitments. Every one of us has 1,440 minutes in a day. It's just that we all choose to spend them very differently. And I think what we have to do is decide to make it important. And by that I mean is, if the person is in front of you, make them the most important part of your focus for that moment. If you're on a phone call, make that important. So a couple of really practical things to do. If you are a manager and you have one-on-ones with your people, make sure you give them the gift of your undivided attention in their one-on-one. Now keep it short rather than long, because we have what we call the art of compression. That is, we can compress time. I mean, you know it to be true. If you have 2 hours to make a decision, it takes you 2 hours. If you have 2 weeks, it takes you 2 weeks. But if you have 2 minutes, it only takes you 2 minutes. So what you need to think about with time is compressing time. So if you're a leader having one-on-one, say to your team member, let's have 15 dedicated minutes together to get through your agenda, and give them the gift, because you can be away from your email, you can be away from social media for 15 minutes. I think the other thing to think about is, remember what's important. For example, using a person's name, it sounds so crazy, and yet it's one of the best ways to get attention for the other person. In an email, use people's names through the body of an email. If you're being served by a barista, get to know them and their name so you can use it in conversation, because our name, says Dale Carnegie, is the sweetest sound. So when you really think about that, your name cuts through clutter. So if you hear your name in a conversation, you're more likely to actually tune in. So I would recommend a couple strategies. Be dedicated in your one-on-ones, use people's names, and know what's important. If someone has a birthday, that's maybe important to them. If someone has an important thing coming up in their personal life, a wedding, an engagement, something like that, and it's important to them, make it important to you. The way that I systemize thoughtfulness is I use my calendar. So if I know you have a birthday coming up and you like a particular kind of wine, I will make a note of that and send a note so that I send you wine on your birthday so that it is special to you. So what I do is I keep my calendar up to date so that I systemize thoughtfulness. So for example, when I'm at the airport, I text people very regularly because I've got those moments where I'm waiting to board a plane. If I am flying between places, because of what I do spend a lot of time on the road, I will take stamp stationery to write notes and to catch up with birthday cards, anniversary, those type of things. So it's systemized thoughtfulness. I make time to show people I'm paying attention to what matters to them.
That's a great one. And I know my husband, I remember him being known for, he would close his laptop when people would come in, when he knew he was going to speak to them, and just that gesture of, I'm not going to be tempted to read what's on my screen, because it's always calling to us, especially now. We have notifications that pop all over.
Right.
So even things like that could show someone that they're more important right now than what's going on my screen. And I want to pay attention to what you're saying and give you that type of attention. And don't you feel like some people are naturally good at these type of activities, whereas some might need to systematize that and put it in their calendar and maybe write reminders? Or wasn't there I don't think it was Peter Drucker. It was somebody that had the whole 5 coins in a pocket. Did you ever hear about that? Where you tokens that reminded you to give positive feedback or something? Is that a type of systemized thoughtfulness?
I think every one of us has the ability to be thoughtful, but many of us are thoughtless. And what we're doing is we're allowing busy to take over. And, I think someone said it, was it Geomic said, everyone's busy. I think Dutch Driver said, everyone's busy, and people are claiming busy. Busy is not productive. Busy is not thoughtful. And when you say to someone, I'm too busy, what you're saying is, I'm too busy for you. You're not important enough for me to make time. But we all know that if someone in our family gets sick, If someone that we care about has something happen, the moment that happens, our priorities shift. So it's about knowing what our priorities are.
Right.
I believe we have to prioritize people. And the way to prioritize people is to build in scheduled time to take care of relationships. My husband and I travel like lunatics. It's just what we've chosen to do for our particular careers. That's a choice we make. I'm not complaining about that. But we've also had to schedule dates. So sometimes we've scheduled dates in other cities because we happen to both be in the same city. So we proactively look at our calendars, and every 90 days we plan time together in a vacation type environment. With
Right.
my girlfriends, if I know I'm going to be in their city, I give them notice so we can schedule, even if it's a drink or a date. But scheduling dates with people you care about is an easy way to systemize thoughtfulness. I think everyone has the ability to do it, Gina. I just think that some people make themselves more important than other people. And so every time you say, I'm too busy, and if you say to a little person, I don't have time, and that little person continually hears that, they assume that your
Right.
technology is more important than them. And that's not the message we want to send as leaders.
I can remember when our youngest, who's now 19, but she was probably 5. Well, let's see, how long have cell phones? Yeah, cell phones been around because it had to do with cell phones. And she drew a picture of, in school, they say, draw a picture of your family. And Bailey drew a picture of her family, and I was on my cell phone.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry.
It was heartbreaking. I was like, that's reality check for you. I'm going, okay, I need to pay attention. And looking back, she never said, like, I didn't pay attention, but I think it's a funny reminder to all of us that, we get so busy. And I think everyone is busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem in business is how can you cut through that clutter, and you even do a keynote all around that. I mean, that whole topic, to me, that's so fascinating that you do a keynote called Attention Pays.
Mm-hmm.
Attention Pays. And what do you, because I mean, obviously it's a play on words. We can say pay attention, but what do you mean by attention pays?
I believe that paying attention increases profits. It increases productivity. It increases engagement and increases accountability. And when you really think about that, if you have a sales audience, I speak to a lot of sales teams around the world. If you speak to a sales audience and you share with them how paying attention to each client who's in front of them, every customer they visit, every member that might be in front of them, by being able to actively listen, I think it was Dutch was saying something about active listening. When you actively listen to what the client is telling you and what they're not telling you,
Right.
you have the opportunity to hear, okay, here's where they're at, here's where I could help them more. So if you stand in service of that client by paying attention, you might be able to offer them an additional product or service or extension. And so it doesn't matter if you're in financial services, in media, or hospitality. If you are paying attention to your clients and giving them the attention that they need, you're looking for those cues of other ways you can serve them. If you think about paying attention as a leader, attention pays when you have leadership and you have the opportunity to look at how can I accelerate my employee engagement? How can I give them more coaching, more targeted mentoring, more cross-promotional opportunities, more projects they could get involved in? How can I elevate people within my team by understanding here's where they're at and here's where they need my help, but here's where I can take them. So it's about also thinking about this as a real strategy for how to attract and retain the top talent. Because one of the biggest challenges of business today is being able to attract and retain and develop top talent. Because what top talent knows is they're brilliant at what they do. They can go wherever they want. And organizations are struggling to know how to keep them. Paying attention is yet another strategy to be able to develop these people so that you keep that top talent in your company. So there's so many things that I talk about in my keynote. But I also talk about the art and the science of paying attention because I believe it is an art form. Some people maybe, as you said earlier, maybe some people are a little better at it than others because they choose that. But there's a science behind it as well. And when you think about being able to engage your listening, your eyesight, your body language, and all of those communication tools that we have, and then actually being accountable and following up, doing what you say you're going to do, which is where the productivity piece kicks in. Now, many people who know my work from Folding Time, and they know that I'm obsessed with getting people to pay attention because I think it leads to such greater productivity.
And the whole science of it is, it's so true. It's like you can, I mean, I even say online, you mentioned this as abusing someone's name on social media. You know, when we click reply and we say something or we reply to someone in an email or Facebook post, as often as possible to try and use someone's name. Number one, I always say that's the icon, that's digital eye contact. We don't have eye contact when we're tweeting or Facebook posts, but digital eye contact is when we're just looking at them and they feel like we're not doing a blanket response. It's using their name. As a leader within an organization, I think a lot of times some of our challenge comes from that, where our teams are spread all over. Mm-hmm. So we may not see them one-on-one, face-to-face. We have to see them one-on-one, digital. Although now there's so many tools, Zoom meeting and Skype, and we use all these tools. And to me, video, I mean, how do you feel about using more video in a business setting? Yeah, you are the queen of video.
I'll tell you why I love video. There's so many reasons. Video is the future. It is the future of education. Look at people like Salman Khan and the Khan Academy. He totally transformed the way teachers teach right now by using video. I believe video is an easy way to connect. And if you think about all the different generations we have in the workplace right now, you have a veterans generation who grew up by loving those face-to-face meetings. They embraced email because they had to. You have baby boomers who love group emails. They love group meetings. They started to get more involved in video. Then you have people like me, who's a Gen Xer, who just wants to do my job and be done with it, right? I want you to get to the point, and if you can send me a quick video to watch and tell me how to do it, I'm good. That's all I need. I don't want to have a meeting about it. I don't want to be on a group email about it, right? But then you have Generation Y, who love and have grown up with, also called the MTV generation. They've grown up with video, and they've had this opportunity to be face-to-face. They text everything's small amounts of time. So YouTube videos have got shorter and shorter, but more and more powerful. And then you look at the next generation, which is being called Generation Z or Generation Z, or maybe iGen as a little wink to Apple. But this is the generation who absolutely demand to FaceTime with their parents. So these little tiny people, right? These little people that have been born, and they want to see their parents who are traveling. And if you fly at all, you'll notice that when parents land or before they take off, they're FaceTiming with their kids now, whereas before we used to just text. So I think video is a major communication tool, because what's happening is we can see and hear your tone. We can read your expressions. We can't do that in email. We can't do that on Twitter. And so that's why I think video is absolutely the future.
Which is interesting, because that's kind of the discussion in the chat here is about video mail, and see, then it starts crossing over. We start looking at my area of getting people to pay attention, to how to get attention. To me, you really can build rapport faster if you can do it through video. Obviously, face-to-face is ideal if you're able to be in the same place, but if not, video allows you to build rapport, to see those facial expressions, to hear their tone of voice. But I mean, it's just like we fall in love. We get to know and fall in love with certain characters on TV commercials. Like we feel like we know them because we see them all the time. And, I like this person. Or Jan from Toyota. I'm sorry, Jan. Like, I really don't like you.
There's some comments here about, video email, and, there's services like BombBomb and iJot, and a lot of people are leveraging those where the email is actually just a quick video of you. And I work with a company called Prime Concepts, and the owner of that company is a gentleman called Ford Sakes. And Ford is a legend in the industry, but also in using video. And whenever I get the opportunity to work with him, he'll often send me a video, because very, very quickly we can get to the point. And what it does is it avoids email back and forth and another teleconference and another meeting. And I think video email, while I don't leverage it myself, I send an enormous amount of short videos to people, and I often just text them. In the same way that if someone sends me a bunch of flowers or my favorite bottle of champagne, Gina, you've done this so many times, I will video and tell you how much I love it. I'll show you the bouquet of flowers and how much, and you hear my enthusiasm and my excitement. It's such an easy way to convey emotion. And for someone, and it's not just one email lost in a 200 emails that people get on a daily basis.
And, again, looking at the tools we use today with our phones, we can shoot a video, 30-second video, and we can just hit send, and it sends it to this person. It compresses it. It sends it. So there's in the past, it was like, I'm going to need special equipment to do a video, or I'm going to have to edit the video with special software. Now it's just point, shoot, and send, and the video's off and running. So I think, a lot of those barriers to using more video in our emails, in our marketing, and even talking to team members, there's just so many ways you can use video to number one, make sure that people are paying more attention, because I think sometimes we send these long emails. Sometimes I open them and my eyes glaze over,
Right.
and I can't read through it, let alone pay attention to what it says. Perhaps through a short video. If they're too long, if I have to sit and listen to a 30-minute lecture video from someone, I probably won't pay attention. But
Yep.
I think when you look at ways that we can do business and pay more attention, or help others pay more attention, it could be that using some short, interesting videos could be a really great tool to do that.
One of the ways that I talk about in Attention Pays is understanding in the keynote, how does the person you're talking to like to be communicated with? So, for example, if you know that a person, my whole team knows the best way to get my attention is text. So you text me, you get my attention, because no matter if I'm speaking on a stage or flying through an airport, I'm going to look at my phone quicker than I'm going to look at my email or log on to some different systems. So that's one way to get my attention. Now, I know that about some of my friends too, that they're going to definitely check their text, but then probably not going to check their email until later on at night. So I can shoot a video and text it. Now, I have one client that I work with who's a very senior leader in the media industry. She only relates to phone calls. Now, that's amazing to me, because in a world of email, it's so much easier for me just to send her an email, but I know her style. So I'll leave her a voicemail and say, here's when I'm available. And very quickly we get through what it is we need for her project. So what you got to understand is the person who you want to show them you're paying attention to, their preferred communication style.
Right.
If you know a person hates email, you got to find an alternative. If they don't ever answer their phone, you got to find an alternative. If they are always on Twitter, I know, Gina Schreck, that if I want to get your attention, I just send you a tweet, because I know that I'm going to get you on Twitter. Does that make sense? Whereas one of my friends, I know I'm going to get him on Facebook. You just got to know about your team and the people that you care about, how do they like to be communicated with, and show them you're paying attention to their needs. If you are a person in sales, you got to know what your clients read, where they go, what conferences they attend, what's their favorite drink, how do they order their coffee. I mean, that's the sort of thing that I always learned and always taught my team when I was in corporate, that I always knew exactly what my client's coffee order was, so when they came to see me, it was all there and available. It's the little things that matter. It's the little things that make a big impact.
Okay, Neen, then, because I love the fact of, and we've seen this with a dentist or somebody that we only see, in my case, like every 2 years, every 6 months.
Well,
I should say every 6 months. Yeah, we see our dentist, and they say, "Oh, I remember last time you were here. You were barely turning 21. You climbed this mountain, or you did this trip you were going on." And they remember these things. You're going, okay, they wrote it in their file. What tips do you have? What tools do you use to keep those type of notes, almost like it is like a CRM if you're using a CRM tool, and then you have to be diligent to write those things in there. But let's say you find out someone's favorite flower or favorite bottle of wine. Where do you keep that information?
I am a Google girl. So I use Gmail for all my mail, Google Contacts, and Google Calendar, because my whole team can access it and it's easy. And being such a huge provider, I know that they're going to back it up and I feel safe with them. So for every contact, I have them categorized in certain buckets within Google Contacts, and there's a notes section. So I always put the name of their assistant if I know it. Now, assistants rule the world. If you are in sales, if you are in corporate, you got to know who's the assistant and what is it that they can decide on. But I keep those notes in there. So favorite flowers, fragrance, certain drinks. A couple of my clients are bourbon drinkers, and I've had to learn a little bit about bourbon because I know nothing about it and I didn't drink it. So understanding those little tiny things. I was coaching one of my clients, and she put on this massive event for her clients as an appreciation event. It was very high profile and very high stakes. She learned that one of the clients that was attending happened to drink Johnny Walker Blue, which I think is not inexpensive. So she had a room drop where she left him a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, which with a note that says, "Please enjoy this with our compliments." That whole conference, that gentleman was so impressed with her attention to detail.
Right.
When you think about what's important to other people, and it doesn't have to be alcohol related, but when you think
champagne,
about these, champagne, wine, I know my examples might be a little biased, But when you think about what's important to them, if you have a particular part of your community who celebrate a Jewish holiday, know about that. If you have a part of your community who celebrate Kwanzaa, know about this because this is so important to them. It's not about you. It's about what's important to them. And social media actually makes that very easy. If I see something on Facebook about someone's kid or a game they played, people are so generously sharing about what's happening and what's important to them online. You can take that and make it a next part of conversation.
Right.
Geomig saying
Geomig. Geomig, I already wrote that in my Google contact. I wrote that in my contact. Send and I'm curious from the audience here, like, does anyone use another tool that, I mean, there are a lot of great tools out there, and Infusionsoft is one that we use, Infusionsoft, but you have to be diligent to make sure you're going in and entering that information. So I'm curious if anybody else is using some cool tool that they want to tell us, like give us the lowdown.
Jed, who is like rockstar good. If you are following Dead Record, you need to get on that because he's brilliant. He uses Infusionsoft. So lots of people advocate for that. Gina, you use Infusionsoft
I do.
as well?
I'm curious, Jed, how are you really diligent about, like, you talk to someone on the phone and they mention something about, oh yeah, my daughter's going to be, graduating this year. Do you go into Infusionsoft right then and there and put that info in there?
Does Jed want to get on? Because if he does, he's welcome.
Jed, did you do your hair? Can you jump in here? Yeah. See, he says I don't either. See, that's my challenge with Infusionsoft. I need to get better because I know it can be done.
Yeah.
But any CRM is only as good as the data you're putting in it.
Absolutely. And, CRMs could be, it could be as little index cards. I mean, I know that sounds like analog technology, but you might have.
What is this scribing with rocks and stones and
like a pen? Remember pens, Gina?
No, I don't own those.
So, Jed, I've said yes, but it seems to not be coming through. So you may want to try again. I don't know if it's an internet connection. But yeah, thinking about like index cards, if you are a person who likes to see and you like visuals, keeping a record of that can work. But also, too, I use an Excel spreadsheet, so an old Excel spreadsheet, and that's one of the ways that I track my advocates. So I have an advocate program in my business where people have been very generous in advocating for me. Here he comes. Hey, good looking. Nice to see you.
Jed is in the house.
Hey, there I am.
So back to you, Jed. Gina was asking about systems. What's your thoughts around capturing things to show people you're paying attention to them?
All right, so I hate to admit to this because I pay for Infusionsoft and it's not cheap. But I use Infusionsoft to manage my marketing automation. And with my clients, they'll receive messages from me, which are messages I've personally composed and written, and they'll receive automated messages that are from Infusionsoft. And I try to personalize both and use the same tone of voice in both, so it's hard to distinguish between the two. But for the messages acknowledging their child's birthday or for really personal stuff, those clients that I'm actually keeping track of that, I also keep track of in Nimble, which is another CRM tool.
Oh, cool.
And so, no, it's not very efficient to have two CRM systems, but the Infusionsoft handles all my marketing automation stuff. So my newsletter goes out, my offers go out. The stuff that I don't want to have to think about to remember to send out goes out through Infusionsoft. The stuff I have to think about, like birthdays, personal notes, or conversations that I have and notes on those conversations, they go into my Nimble CRM. And those are typically clients that are higher value. They're also people who are important to my business, so peers in the industry. So you'll be happy to know that each of you have a home in Nimble.
Yay! We made it onto Jed's list.
You make it on Jed's list, you know you've arrived.
So I'll have to make a note of this conversation quickly in my Nimble. But the nice thing about the Nimble tool is, and I'll put a link for I see Ryan's asking. But the nice thing I like about the Nimble tool, I do a lot of social media interactions. So I talk about social media. I'm in the business. I do social media. And Nimble really easily synchronizes your contact social networks with your contact in the software, so that when I pull up Neen's tag, I can see when's the last time we've had like an interaction, and I can also see what she's been tweeting, what's on her Facebook, or what's on her LinkedIn.
That's cool. Yeah, cool.
And
That's cool.
Yeah.
what I like about that is when I'm ready to reach out to somebody, and sometimes you just need something to kind of break the ice on a follow-up.
Right.
That's an awesome icebreaker opportunity, because you can see what they're tweeting or what's on their updates, and you can reference that and say, hey, I just happened to be following your Twitter page and saw that you did this, and it really personalizes it.
We were just talking about that for people who do B to B. They don't see the value in Facebook. And I say, gosh, if for nothing else, you should find your clients on Facebook to find out, just even last week, a woman that she's actually one of our clients, but, she posted something about the type of candy she was giving out. And I made a little comment on there so that the next time I'm talking to her, just to throw out those little personal things, where else have we ever had a tool that gave us that kind of inside information about trivial things that we wouldn't have even thought to put a note on? So to me, social media should be used so that you can systemize.
I say systemize thoughtfulness. Yeah.
I feel like I'm saying.
Look, it's a semantic. Someone else asked me about the same things. For the record, according to Neen James, it is how to systemize thoughtfulness. So in the last minute that we have left, I just want to be able to highlight a couple things that we've talked about. And that is that paying attention is going to increase profits, especially if you are in a sales-oriented role, by paying attention to your customers. Paying attention is going to increase engagement with your team by giving them the gift of your undivided attention, knowing what's important to them, and then giving them the coaching that they need in order for them to really progress. It's also paying attention increases accountability, because you're going to check to see if people did what they said they're going to do, and then you're going to see a flow on throughout your business. We talked today about different ways to pay attention. The simplicity of using someone's name is such a beautiful gift. We talked about recognizing, retweeting, sharing on social media. I spend 10 minutes in the morning with my coffee just making 10 recommendations on Twitter every day. It's an easy thing to do, and it's about really giving attention to people and letting them know you saw them. It takes only moments to like a post or retweet it. If you like something that someone said, it's brilliant, show them that. So I think what we need to do is, we are a nation in attention deficit crisis, and we need to create an attention economy, and that's what I'm all about. So for those of you who gave us your attention today, thank you. I appreciate that. Gina, any final thoughts before we sign off today?
I'm curious, Neen, you have a white paper all about attention. Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to neenjames.com, we'll put that in the comments, neenjames.com, and you go scroll down to about the middle of the first page. If you sign up for our newsletter, you get a copy of Attention Pays, which is a white paper featuring some of the statistics that I shared with you today. And also that we'll be able to let you know when our new book comes out next year, which is called Attention. If you need a great keynote speaker who's like the Energizer Bunny for your meetings, that's me. And so I'd love to share my keynote with you. But if you want the white paper, go to neenjames.com.
Cool. It sounds like a great resource. I need to read it, and then I'll make my dentist appointment. And I'll schedule my one-on-ones.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Jed, thanks for popping in. It's always lovely to see you in the house.
It
was so nice to see some fabulous people. Thanks for the conversation. I'll stay around for a few more minutes and I will answer some of those final thoughts. But guys, please tell a little bird so that people will know to watch the replay. And thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Gina, thanks for being a fabulous co-host. See you guys soon. I wonder if there's any other questions I can answer for any of you. Hey, Angela, thank you for the love. You're the best. All right, looks like we're all good. Guys, thank you so much, and thanks for sharing the replay. I appreciate it.